Have you ever found yourself staring at an important task, fully aware of its significance, yet somehow unable to begin? That moment when you know exactly what needs to be done, but something invisible seems to hold you back? If you're nodding right now, you're experiencing something fundamental to the human condition that few of us truly understand. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something that affects virtually all of us, yet is rarely discussed with genuine depth: the true nature of motivation and how to overcome the powerful pull of procrastination. What I'm about to share isn't the typical "just do it" advice you've heard countless times. Instead, we'll explore the psychological mechanisms that either propel us forward or keep us stuck, and offer perspectives that may fundamentally change how you approach your goals. The truth is, motivation isn't what most people think it is. It's not simply about feeling inspired or having enough willpower. There's a much deeper story happening beneath the surface of our conscious awareness. And understanding this story could be the difference between perpetual struggle and sustainable progress. Let's begin with what might be the most important insight about motivation. It's not primarily about feeling good or being inspired. This is perhaps the most profound misunderstanding that keeps people trapped in cycles of procrastination. We've been conditioned to believe that we need to feel motivated before we act, that the feeling precedes the behavior. That research in behavioral psychology suggests something quite different. Motivation, in its most reliable form, is actually the product of action, not its precursor. When we wait to feel motivated before starting, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment because we've reversed the natural order of behavioral change. The reality is that taking action, even small, seemingly insignificant steps, creates the neural pathways that eventually produce what we recognize as motivation. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the hardest part of any task is simply beginning? Once you've started, continuing becomes significantly easier. This isn't coincidental. When we initiate action, our brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. This chemical response reinforces the behavior and makes us more likely to continue. In essence, motivation is cultivated through consistent action rather than existing as a prerequisite for it. This insight leads us to our second key understanding. Procrastination is rarely about laziness or poor time management. Rather, it's an emotional regulation problem. When we procrastinate, we're not avoiding the task itself. We're avoiding the negative emotions associated with it. These might include anxiety about failure, frustration with complexity, or discomfort with uncertainty. The procrastinator's dilemma is that they use short-term emotional relief, avoiding the task, as a strategy, which ultimately leads to greater emotional distress in the long run: deadline pressure, self-criticism, poor results. Understanding this emotional component is crucial because it shifts our approach from simple productivity hacks to developing emotional intelligence and psychological flexibility. One powerful technique to overcome this emotional avoidance is what psychologists call surfing the urge. This involves acknowledging the discomfort associated with a task without trying to eliminate it. Instead of waiting until you feel good enough to start, you learn to take action alongside the discomfort. This skill, acting despite emotional resistance, is far more valuable than trying to generate positive feelings about the task. Before I continue with the third crucial insight, I want to take a moment to invite those of you who are finding value in this discussion to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We regularly explore these kinds of rarely discussed psychological insights that can transform how you approach life's challenges. Your subscription helps support this work and ensures you don't miss future conversations that could provide the perspective shift you've been seeking. Now, let's address our third key insight: the power of environmental design in shaping motivation. Your physical and social environment profoundly influences your behavior, often in ways you don't consciously register. This is why willpower alone is such an unreliable strategy for consistent motivation. Consider how your physical space is currently arranged. Is it configured to make your priority tasks the path of least resistance, or does it subtly encourage distraction? Something as simple as placing your workout clothes beside your bed the night before can significantly increase the likelihood of morning exercise. Similarly, using website blockers during dedicated work periods can eliminate the constant decision fatigue that depletes your motivational resources. Your social environment is equally important. The research is clear that we tend to adopt the behaviors, attitudes, and even the ambitions of those we spend the most time with. This doesn't mean you should abandon important relationships, but it does suggest being intentional about seeking out communities and individuals who embody the qualities you wish to develop. When motivation becomes a shared value within your social circle, it creates a powerful reinforcement system that makes consistent action more sustainable. This leads us to our fourth insight, the rule of identity and motivation. Most people approach motivation from a results-oriented perspective. They focus on what they want to achieve rather than who they want to become. But lasting motivation is more often driven by identity than by outcomes. When you shift from, "I want to write a book," to "I am a writer," you change the fundamental question from, "Do I feel like doing this today?" to, "What would a writer do in this situation?" This identity-based approach bypasses the need for momentary motivation because it's no longer about whether you feel like performing the task. It's about acting in alignment with who you understand yourself to be. This is why people who identify strongly with particular roles or communities, athletes, academics, artists, often demonstrate remarkable consistency in their efforts. Their behavior is guided by identity congruence rather than fluctuating motivation levels. Consider how you might reframe your goals in terms of identity. Not, "I want to be fit," but "I am someone who prioritizes physical well-being." Not, "I want to be organized," but "I am a person who creates order and clarity." Finally, let's address what might be the most overlooked aspect of sustainable motivation, the importance of recovery and renewal. There's a persistent myth in achievement-oriented cultures that motivation requires constant output and hustle. This perspective misunderstands the rhythmic nature of human energy and attention. Our capacity for focused work follows what researchers call an ultradian rhythm, approximately 90 to 120-minute cycles of peak performance followed by necessary recovery periods. Ignoring these natural cycles by pushing through fatigue doesn't demonstrate superior motivation. It actually diminishes your capacity for sustained effort over time. True motivation isn't about being on all the time. It's about understanding when to advance and when to recover. This rhythmic approach prevents burnout and allows for the integration of insights that often occur during periods of apparent inactivity. Some of your most significant breakthroughs will come not during intense focus, but during the recovery periods that follow it. To summarize what we've explored today, genuine, sustainable motivation comes from taking action rather than waiting for inspiration. Procrastination is an emotional regulation challenge rather than a time management problem. Your environment shapes your behavior more than willpower alone. Identity-based motivation is more powerful than outcome-based goals, and respecting your natural energy rhythms creates sustainable progress rather than burnout. I want to emphasize that implementing these insights isn't about perfection. It's about progression. You'll still experience resistance and difficulty. The difference is that you'll now understand these challenges as natural aspects of the process rather than signs of personal failure. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these perspectives. Which insight resonated most deeply with you? Have you found other approaches that have transformed your relationship with motivation and procrastination? Show your experiences in the comments below. And if you found value in this discussion, please give the video a like. It helps others discover this content too. If you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the description below for ways you can help us continue creating this kind of in-depth content. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're building a community of people committed to understanding the deeper patterns that shape our lives and choices. Thank you for your attention and engagement. Until next time, remember that motivation isn't something you wait for, it's something you cultivate through consistent action and deeper understanding.